Hello there, Efren.
Hi, Efren. Good afternoon.
Well, let's talk about this little piece first. Nancy and I had the opportunity to collaborate on another work that was for an exhibition called
In Cahoots.
In Cahoots. And we had so much fun working together and playing off each other that we decided we didn't want to give up that day a week or afternoon a week of working together. And with the title of this show being Reflective Responses, we wanted to do something that was reflective. And in Nancy's studio, if your back is to her front windows, which look out on Dallas Road and the ocean, if your back is there and you face into her apartment, she has a painting there, and reflected on that painting was the ocean, the sky, and her window blinds.
Yes, the window blind, and this was all ocean sky.
And there are 9 of these pieces here, and each one represents 1 month, beginning with April, May, June, ending in December. And what we've done is map our travels. I live north of Royal Oak. Nancy, of course, lives on Dallas Road. And so I would map where I went in each of those months, and Nancy mapped where she was going, and then putting them together. And we didn't know what it was going to look like in the end, but it's quite interesting.
Yeah, a lot of fun. We each chose a colored pin, just like people who map their journeys around the globe, and proceeded. It was kind of, no, don't like this idea, yes, like this idea, and that's what it's kind of been like. And in terms of this gallery, I had booked with Martin, I had booked a year before we opened this show, I had booked the gallery, not knowing how it was going to be used, but I knew it would be used. I knew I would have some work, or maybe I wouldn't, maybe it would be somebody else, but I needed to book the space. And then, as things evolved, we decided it made sense that it was both of us.
And fortunately, Martin approved.
Yeah, big chance. I mean, you know, really.
Can you talk about, a little bit about the work is here? It looks to me quite different from each other, but how it got together, how is so...
Well, reflective responses, mine is more literal because I'm totally drawn to reflections, shadows, refracted light. And so mine is more a literal take on reflective responses. Nancy's, on the other hand, she is reflecting on, well, you speak about that.
Thanks, I can speak for myself, but she's pretty good at it. Yeah, I also reflect, but I don't reflect on something literal other than I walk through life. I look at my view, I look at the birds, I hear them, I watch them, I ballroom dance, so I'm moving. Music's been in my life, it still is. And then I let that develop a story. So the reflection is after the fact of living through life or living in an experience, the birth of my grandniece and nephew, where I was at their birth, then that kind of informs my imagination. And then my little characters are like my actors. And then I put them to their play and ask them to move around the set and tell the story. Yeah.
Well, she does.
Yeah. But we both reflect. We just found it interesting that we reflect so differently. That mine's less literal, and yet I require the literal experiences of life. So there's very much a connection. But yes, our work is very different, as are materials.
Yeah.
So.
And because I have molecular vision and no depth perception, I very much rely on and have my entire life on shadows and reflections and refracted light to find my way about. And so it's the excitement to me of what happens in those crazy little spots of shadows, the distortions, or the energy that seems to happen with the light when it's refracting. I just love it. So catching those special little moments when something weird and wonderful and energetic is happening, even if it's not bouncy energetic, I just want to get that little second if I possibly can. And so that is a reflective response, and it is my response to what I've seen.
She can leave the jumping around to me. I can be the bird, which is really what it's like. I live with a lot more frenetic movement, so it's sort of a natural kinship with the bird world.
But I give a lot of my own imagination to these spaces that I'm creating, because I want them to be activated. I want that energy. If it happens to be built, if a piece is built on an experience from the garden, and there's a triptych here that is, then I am imagining a seed growing and expanding, and what that energy is going to bring, and the warmth from the soil, not just the light from the sun. And so that's my imagination playing with a lot of these things.
That's interesting, actually. I haven't heard you quite express it that way. I like that. And my imagination is a direct tie to I think one of the things that inspires me most is actually the visual language of written music. So I love musical scores, and that's where I look at those little notes, and then they leap off that page, sort of like your imagination is going in your own way, and all of a sudden they have to find their place, sort of in a rhythmic way, in the way I place things, or in the suggestion of a melody. So there's a lot embedded in there, but maybe that just isn't necessarily obvious to the viewer. So maybe that goes with both of our images. It's not, you just never know what a viewer sees, but you know what you've embedded in it. Yeah.
And it's always a bit of yourself.
Yeah, a lot, actually.
Yeah.